You know, one thing I realized is while the software is eating the world, all the AI topics today morning eat up the time. So we actually are running late, so we will be cognizant of that. We will try to actually make up a little bit of time in this panel, but we have an amazing set of panel. As Nilesh mentioned, that the topic today is, when everybody thinks about AI or ML, they think of sexy new products that are built out of garage in Palo Alto, right? That's not reality. The reality is how traditional companies are using some of their core products and building services and capabilities on their existing platforms or products and extending the lease of the life of those products. So that's where the real action of AI is happening. If you think about the terms of the volume and the criticality for the world today. So that is the topic that we'll be talking about in terms of just kind of giving you a context, right? I mean, like if you see a lot of these core platforms, they are able to leverage whether it's AI, ML, or IoT, or RPA, or blockchain to build some new services. They are able to extend not only the life of those products, but they are able to come up with some innovative business use cases, business models, new solutions. So those are some of the the realities of the lives in the world today. So we will talk about quite a bit of real life examples. So for that we have an amazing set of two panelists. The first one I want to introduce is Nayaki Nayyar. She is the president of the digital services management at BMC Software. She's the one who leads the IT management solutions into the cognitive sciences with the oversight of pretty much all the products that BMC has, right? So Nayaki, please come in. And our second panelist comes from a slightly different world. He comes from one of the large engineering services companies, Wipro. He is the global head for platforms and software products and services at Wipro. A 18-year-old veteran at Wipro. He is also an entrepreneur who has built like new markets and created new markets for Wipro. So we have an amazing set of dynamics that we are going to talk about today. So with that, thank you, Eravi and Nayaki. So Nayaki, we'll just start off with your point of view on what is happening in the world today.
Thank you, Vamsee. First of all, thank you all. Really a great session this morning. And the topic is so hot, especially from where we sit inside BMC and also where I was at SAP before. We are seeing what I call a major transformation that is happening across every industry. Doesn't matter which industry you talk to, telcos, healthcare, financial industry. And while we're talking about digital transformation, which was being disrupted through cloud, multi-cloud, not just one cloud customers have, you have proliferation of clouds, IoT, where everything is getting connected. Into what I call the cognitive transformation, where AI, ML, chatbots, virtual agents, they're completely transforming what the future would look like. So I look at it as three phases, where it's not just traditional systems or systems of record, but also where we look at digital transformation through clouds, multi-clouds, and all these devices, and then cognitive transformation through AI, ML, and chatbots. So we'll talk about what's
okay. Absolutely. Eravi.
Thank you. Good morning. Californian rain and Uber breakdown didn't stop me from coming here in the morning, so I'm feeling rather fortunate today morning. And thanks for that, Nayaki. Great start. I will try to give you, I'm very fortunate in my role to work with two sets of stakeholders mainly. One is product companies, primarily software product companies, but also some of the converged product companies. And second is large enterprises. And platforms and software products, we have a fantastic team that works in this area. It's a very young business unit in Wipro. It's only 4 years old. And we have a very humble tagline, which is changing the world one platform at a time. So, and it's been an amazing run for 4 years. And I'll sort of like posit what I've learned over the last 4 years, right? First is from the product companies. Really, they've started, the dilemma that they face is that they look at the products in, let's say, three broad categories, right? One is incubate and invest, second is harvest, and third is divest. And to divest is very clear. It's very easy. It's non-strategic. You want to kill the product, get it out, right? The dilemma is between harvest and invest, right? Invest is where you're trying to compete with the newbies from the metaphorical Silicon Valley. And harvest is where you're trying to have a new lease of life, right?
Yep.
And really, when one thinks about it deeply and having engaged with a lot of these stakeholders now, it's really not a dilemma. Because harvest is where your brand is invested in. You're actually known in the marketplace for that harvest set of products. BMC for service management, right?
And we'll talk about what we are doing in harvesting and investing, right?
Got it. So it is a misnomer to say that you forget about the harvest and really focus on the invest. So that's one way to look at it from a product company perspective, right? Now, when you come to the large enterprises which these products companies serve and enable, what are the imperatives for them? If I call out the top 3 driving factors in today's economy and world, the number 1 is speed is a big differentiator. So you want to really enable a real-time, continuous enterprise, right? That's very important for every company. If you're not a real-time, continuous enterprise, you are in trouble, right? The second is you want to be AI-enabled. And that's a whole bunch of things. Nayaki, you touched upon a few things there. It's a whole bunch of things that gets there. And AI is very old. That's something that we're figuring out today morning too. It's not nothing new. It's actually old. And the third part of it is we are living in the era of ideas and not the power of capital. Right? And ideas will not be about one people or a few people. It will be about a whole ecosystem.
Absolutely.
How do you play the ecosystem, right? That's imperative for every large enterprise. So I would posit that a product that thrives is a platform that delivers a real-time, continuous enterprise.
Sure.
A platform that enables an AI enterprise. A platform that enables an enterprise to play in an ecosystem, right? That would be my hypothesis in this.
Awesome. That's a great segue, right? I mean, see, in the market today, it's not like we are not aware that companies are doing it. A lot of companies are actually leveraging some of the digital transformation, to transform their existing products. Whether if you look at companies like Rolls-Royce, which actually have suddenly realized that they have 20 years worth of engine data. So rather than actually selling engines, they can actually sell engine as a service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And you have seen like a lot of banks, rather than completely taking away their core banking platform, they're actually able to leverage blockchain or AI on top of their existing core banking platform and create new technologies and new solutions, right? So we are seeing all these things. But let us actually get at a practical level, right? Is it easy to go to your management and say, I'm going to just invest rather than harvest? Or what are some of the dynamics that are involved? I mean, you are involved in this decision every day, right, Nayaki? So, what's your experience?
So, just because we have new systems doesn't mean you can rip and replace all the old systems, right?
Okay.
You have got to work with your existing systems. So we have this concept of what we call systems of record. Companies have had systems of record, whether it's ERP systems, HR systems, procurement systems,
Sure.
service management systems, for many years, for decades now, right? You can't just rip and replace them. You've got to augment those systems of record
Sure.
with new innovations. We had what we call systems of engagement, which is most of the like HR systems, CRM systems
Sure.
that came about. But now what we are seeing is what we call systems of intelligence that are coming right in between to take the data that is coming from all these systems of record and harness the data and being able to provide more intelligence across your processes.
So that's a system that you are investing in.
Absolutely. So for us, most of you know, BMC was known for service management. We did service management for the last 10, 15 years. And service management as a category itself is going through a major disruption, right? As you have hundreds of thousands of service tickets that are coming in, you can't have humans touching every ticket. It's a very manual process,
Sure.
very reactive, and it's very costly and very expensive. So that function is getting completely disrupted through AI/ML, where every ticket that is coming in will get automatically classified, automatically assigned, automatically routed.
Yeah.
And to your point, the winner in this, because there are a lot of companies who are doing this now, right? Which is what we call systems of intelligence. But the winner in this game would be whoever provides the service at the highest accuracy, at the highest speed, and the lowest cost.
Just out of curiosity, what is the speed goals that you...
Speed is, let's say, if you're a user, consumer,
Sure.
right? and you want a service, doesn't matter whether it's a telco, whether it is a airline, and you use a bot to ask for the service. If the bot can respond to you instantaneously with the highest accuracy, because you will immediately be very disillusioned if the bot is responding incorrect answers, right? You will switch your service provider. So the accuracy at which that first line contact is through the bots is what the winning game would be for service providers in the long term.
So awesome. So we'll shift the gears. Eravi, your experience is obviously very different because you work with multitude of companies. Obviously not everybody thinks the same way. At least she has to deal with only one CEO. You have to deal with many of them.
No, I have to deal with all the customer CEOs
Customer
too,
CEOs,
right? And
of
the
course.
execs there. So.
And I would say quite a few PE firms.
PE firms as well. So what's your experience has been?
Interesting, right? In the sense that there is since I said PE firms, let me give you that perspective, right? There's a notion out there that PE firms are out there for a quick kill, right? And in my experience, and there's been a lot of discussions with PE firms over the last so many years, they really are not. Most of them, I mean, at least the folks that I've been fortunate to work with, they really are looking at something which has a big business impact over a period of time. Of course, they want a hockey stick curve. You know, they want to definitely have a big win at the end of the day, but not tomorrow.
Sure.
Right? And hence, the kind of experiences we've had is one case I can actually call out is there was a PE firm invested in a company that we were talking to. A very bedrock system, you know, really takes care of a lot of customer-facing events. And the problem with that system, the way it was architected, is that it's a batch system, right? And it has to be maintained every week. Sure. It has to be brought down and maintained every week. And they said, look, my customers want a real-time continuous enterprise. That means global organizations want their things to continue happening, engagement with customers all through the time. It is prime time somewhere in the world, sure. Right? So you can't have a traditionally architected system working there. And so what's happening is that the trend that we're seeing is they're ripping apart our product and putting the new age cool products, right? However, what they're also realizing in the meanwhile, first of all, it takes a lot of time to do that.
Right.
Secondly, you're losing a lot of things that you put in place and you learn on the way. And it's not as if the new age product straight off the bat comes with there's a trade-off there, right? In terms of what it gives and what it doesn't give. So we work with this company to create two simple things. One is that we created a business case saying, what is the business value of the data that the system actually harnesses,
sure.
Right? And how do you use supervised learning on that structured data to leap you forward, right?
Sure.
So that was one kind of business value that we, indicator that we created. The second thing that we said is that for this problem that you're saying, customers are spending tens of millions of dollars to do this transformation. We'll do something as simple as putting an abstraction layer on top of it, which will create a synthetic transaction and make your product suddenly a real-time, continuous product, right?
Sure.
So simple hacks like that, right? And the PE firm bought it, and today, I'll tell you, the company is really turned around. It was actually a kind of on the brink of bankruptcy kind of company. The company is having net positive cash flow. And they've now bought onto this thing saying, you need the core system, and we know how to sell that to a customer. And you know what? The old thing called AI, they really need our system and the data that it has for the enterprise to leap forward.
Let's actually pause it for a second. That's a very good segue. When you read about AI, any of the digital transformations, right? It sounds as if it's as easy as building a Lego, right? You just take a bunch of jigsaw puzzles and you put it in, suddenly you have a new system. But in reality, how difficult is it?
Well, it's never easy. It's never really a Lego system that you're building. But what's important is to understand the use case that you're trying to address, right? And define that use case and go after that and get some early wins. Because if you try to boil the ocean and you try to do the project for 2 years or 4 years, you will never get the returns that you're looking for. So while it's not easy, it's also important that you define the use case, be focused on what are those 2 or 3 outcomes, the business outcomes that you want to drive from those use cases, and get those early wins so that you can internally, inside your companies or with your customers, you can show the value of it in the early phases of that journey versus taking it way too long. Right.
Anyway, on the same question, different kind of a topic is, when do you advise your clients that, no matter what we do, you just cannot take it to the next level? Or when do you say that, hey, you have enough that we can actually bring in the next digital products or solutions and extend the life of this product, right? How do you make that call? What's in your I'm like, obviously it's a very comprehensive problem that I'm asking you, but if you were to look at the top 2 or 3 things that you would look for, what would that be?
It is something very basic, which is many of the tenured products out there are non-supportable.
Okay.
We had an interesting example where everybody supporting a particular product was retiring in the next 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
And that was a system-based product where the skill availability for the product across the world would be in hundreds.
Yeah.
And it is not fashionable for college grads to pick up on that skill, right?
Sure.
There goes one big example, right?
Sure.
The second thing is that, while there is product marketing and branding, and I have a lot of respect for those folks, they're the smartest people in all these companies, but some companies do carry it too far. Because the brand that you see is not what the product it is really, right? It is actually a spaghetti, aggregation of so many different things. They really cannot make it do what you want to do. I would say that would be the second context, where we say that it's just a brand, but actually the product is 15, 20 different pieces put together, all different. It will take humongous effort for you to make it do what you want to do, right?
Got it.
And to add to what Ravi just said, right? That's why ripping and replacing is not always the right answer. You augment. You have systems of records. They have been in the landscape for many, many years. You're getting value out of those systems. Now, how do you implement augmentation strategy where you can augment those systems of record with systems of intelligence to be able to really take the process to the next level and really start transforming those processes? What we have seen with most of the customers, especially in service management, we see this. There are tons of service management systems out there which were very reactive and manual. Now customers are augmenting it with systems of intelligence, right? To be able to transform their business process, which is more proactive, predictive, and really what I call cognitive, because in your words, it's continuous real-time enterprise.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are getting there. So what I want to do is I want to see if people, if there are any questions, just raise your hands. We will make sure that you get the mic. But while we are at it, I wanted to ask one quick question, Nayaki, for you in terms of, when you make a business case for any of these products, right? Again, asking this a question from the business case perspective, not from the technology perspective. What criteria should people be aware of in terms of invest versus harvest?
Very, very good point. So I'm going to put myself in the customer's shoes, like whether it's a bank or whether it's a telco. And for them to put that business case in front of their management or their board to get the investments that are needed to make this big transformation, it has to be business outcome driven. So in the service management scenario, most of these companies, they spend millions of dollars to provide that service to their end customers or end users. And the speed at which they provide that service and the accuracy at which they provide the service is very low today. So when you go to your management and go to your boards and your CEOs, you're looking to see how you're going to transform that. The cost is a big aspect of it. The speed at which you're providing, like I talked about, and completely transforming your customer service experience to your end customers. Companies who do not do this or who will not do this will probably not exist in the coming future, because it is going to be a competitive advantage for companies to be able to provide that service at the highest accuracy, highest speed, and the lowest cost. Otherwise, they will have a huge competitive issue.
Excellent. I want you to leave a couple of things with the audience. I want you to address one of the things, Eravi, especially you, to address how you are able to bring the learnings to multiple clients. And Nayaki, I want you to address some things related to organizational dynamics. Everything is great, right? But organization still has people and there are dynamics. How do you navigate through that?
So you want to go first?
Okay, cool, no worries. This is a very interesting question, because learning is dispersed and it's
Yeah.
happening very fast.
Right.
Unless you share, and unless there's a mechanism by which you can disseminate that, you're not learning as an ecosystem, if you must, right? So what's really coming up very well in product groups, in product organizations, is community development. Community development is becoming a huge focus and a priority area, in which typically in product companies are being driven directly by the CEO. The ecosystem, partner community, developer community is driven by the CEO, and we are seeing cases where crowdsourcing platforms,
Sure.
communities are being created where developers, customers, and product companies come together on crowdsourcing platforms, right? And they're sharing, what are they doing? And their hacks are being launched where people can solve specific problems, right? So that's something that I'm seeing being very prevalent.
Awesome. On the organization
I
dynamics.
will leave with this one. Companies, large companies, please recognize when we talk about digital transformation, it is not just about technology transformation and not just AI, ML, chatbots that are coming
exactly.
in. It's really a human aspect of it. People like you and I are in these organizations that are going through these massive transformations, and most of the companies with Gen Zs coming into the workforce will have 5 generations of employees in their organization. So think through how you would help every generation of employees in your organization through this transformation. That's a big part of transformation. It's not just technology, not just cool stuff, but individuals, people, human aspect of that transformation is also very, very important in the journey.
So with that, I know we are standing between the coffee and and the people. So thank you very much, Nayaki and Eravi. Really appreciate you coming here and sharing the thoughts. And this is the real life examples. I mean, everything we read kind of almost feels like pixie dust and magic. And this is what you are doing is real life examples. So that is very, very valuable. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Vamsee.
Thank you.
Thank you all.